All right, what's up, peeps? January the 15th. Dive in and take a look at these markets here. And yeah, I would urge you to be patient be a little bit cautious, do more of the day trading, keep your size in check. And the reason being, we have a big divergence here between the stocks that matter the most and then pretty much everything else here on the entire dashboard. And what I mean by stocks that matter the most is down here on the Big Ten basket. That's your basket of Netflix, Microsoft, Meta, Apple, Broadcom, Tesla, Amazon, Google, Nvidia, and TSM. If we jump over here to, and I've showed you guys this, I've showed you guys this before. I shall show you again. If you look at the top holdings here for the S&P 500, Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Broadcom, Meta, Tesla, they make up, 30, 35, 40% of the entire basket. Mind you, a basket of 500 names. They happen to matter. And then QQQ holdings, the almighty Q-tip, same thing. You have Nvidia, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Tesla, Google, Meta, Google, and Broadcom. Therefore, they matter market weighting-wise more than a few things that look really good here. You got the IWM cranking, Dow Jones. For a few of the stronger sectors, we have the industrials, materials, I got energy in the mix, XLP, healthcare, real estate. And yeah, there's the issue. We have the indices overall pretty bullish. They finish up here today with a group ranking of 83%. But again, a lot of that comes from the RSP, IWM, Dow Jones, with the QQQ in last place. And then for the sector ETFs, they're in good shape, right? Industrials, silver, SMH, energy, they are collectively at 62% of their best score. And in the Big Ten basket, the big boys, the market leaders, they have a collective ranking of only 1%. And that is about as big of a divergence as I think we're going to get here. Indices at 83, sectors at 62, and the Big Ten at a whopping 1. And that has taken us from a ranking of bullish to only neutral bullish on the overall market. Really important, guys. Industrials, energy, silver, good for them. Tomorrow, next week, next couple of weeks here, Netflix, Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, Broadcom, these Big Ten names, they keep on dragging things lower. It can impact everything. Apple breaks down, Netflix keeps on flushing, Microsoft gets uglier. At some point, you have the negative carryover into Dow Jones names, IWM, S&Ps, the overall market. They matter, and they got to get a lot better. A few here that look pretty rough around the edges, and here's where the QQQ's interesting. Could get worse, could get better. The Qs look pretty good here given how a few of these big names look. So the Qs are just very much trapped here in that daily squeeze, or a weekly squeeze rather. Structure is bullish, trend is neutral, and momentum is bearish. Wee bit of a mixed bag. But by comparison, compare it to the weakest name here, Netflix. And Netflix is in a total downtrend. Qs look way better. Compare the QQQ to Microsoft. Microsoft is pretty rough here. You have the first daily sell signal since, I believe, back in February, March. Yeah, your first round of daily sell triggers since back here in February. No bueno. Meta is a sloppy one. That ain't going to help. And then Apple. Look at Apple here. Apple takes out the 21 EMA, takes out the 50, breaks a squeeze short. Qs look a lot better than Apple. And then you have a name like Tesla here who's a bit more choppy. So therefore, what keeps the ship afloat there on the QQQ? Big part of that would be Google, who just keeps on hitting all-time highs. Google putting in a lot of good work here. You have big gap up in TSM, who's been strong. That's helping the SMH, helping the QQQ, and then not really a. I think we're a little bit early, but Nvidia's trying to get back on board, and yeah, if Nvidia can get back on board, it won't hurt, right? So rankings-wise, NVIDIA's finally back to, after actually being negative earlier in the week, NVIDIA's back into second place here under TSM at 72% of its best score. And we'll take it, right? We'll take the progress. The 190 level, they got to get it above that, and they got to keep it above that. That's been the Dikembe Mutombo, right? Rejection, wave the finger rejection. But yeah, through 190, I think you have the eventual path higher on the weekly squeeze here. Structure for a breakout, the trend for a breakout. The final piece would be getting momentum for a breakout. And looking down here at the MACD bars, we haven't had momentum for a breakout since back in November. Get it through 190, get the MACD bars back above zero, get the green arrow. That could be a path eventually into 220, 225-ish. I happen to think would be a positive for the market. Looking for a move through 190 on that one, and then otherwise, guys, it's a lot of hurry up and wait right now. There's a nice weekly squeeze shaping up here on Tesla. And I think a good lesson in terms of relative strength, things can change quickly. So we had a really good month here in December on Tesla. A big part of that was just following the leaderboard. So one trade we took back in December was we bought it here on that 2-hour squeeze. Let me get more data here. Un momento, time frame setup, 2-hour time frame. I need more time here on my 2-day. But again, the goal is just be in rhythm with relative strength. So let me change this up here real quick. There we go. All right, so looking at the 2-hour here on Tesla. Okay, so one trade was we bought it on the 2-hour squeeze back here. Good structure, buy trigger on the green arrow. But why buy that squeeze on Tesla? Why not Google, NVIDIA, Apple? Why not another name in the entire market? And back on the 12th of December, when we took that trade, on the rankings here for December 12th, Tesla was in first place. 97% of its best score. XLY is in first place. Good-looking squeeze, relative strength, good repeatable process. And then we took another trade here on the 19th, another 2-hour squeeze. Caught the gap up, and when we bought that one, Tesla was, let's go take a peek here on the 19th. Still in the first place. Continuing to show signs of relative strength. And then you had the pullback, and on the, I believe, 29th, yeah, by January or December 29th, we were no longer looking to actively trade Tesla. Something changed. What changed here was a ranking. So if we check the 29th's rankings, the picture changed, right? Tesla's down here to a neutral 38. And now in first place you have TSM, followed by Google. Okay, my audio got cut off there, but as I was saying, it's a matter of when these names have relative strength, keep them in focus, find a good squeeze, but as soon as things change, shift your focus over to a greener pasture. And I know we went from Tesla over to Google, and Google made for 2 or 3 really good trades off of a 2-hour and a 4-hour squeeze. Nice squeeze, got the buy trigger, and then back on the 7th and the 8th here, how does Google shape up? And as y'all would have guessed it, Google back here on the 8th was not quite first place, 1 point behind Amazon. Leadership and relative strength. So yeah, I like that Tesla weekly squeeze, but don't think we have to rush it. We're only about 1 week in, and on top of that, we have earnings around the corner for Tesla and for all involved. But that's how I'm seeing things, guys. If the issue at hand here is in the QQQ, you have names like TSM and Google. To some extent, you got Amazon here. NVIDIA's trying. A few look really good, and a few look really awful. We could get to a point where if the ones that look good, the ones that show signs of relative strength, They begin to fall back, and down goes Amazon, down goes Google, TSM's getting weaker. That'll make for a weaker QQQ. That'll make for a weaker Big Ten basket. Then you have the carryover into the S&Ps, potentially the Dow Jones. All parts of the market. If they can do the opposite, get Netflix back on board, improve Meta, shape up in Microsoft, pull Apple back up, then I think you look at a QQQ here, and they've got the ammo for the eventual push higher. Big part of that being the weekly, the 3-day, and the 2-day squeeze. So that is the main thing here for the moment, watching the QQQ squeezes, watching that Big Ten basket, watching the Tesla weekly, Amazon weekly, and with patience here, if they can get the bad boy back above 190, watching the NVIDIA weekly. But be patient, guys. Again, my advice is do not be in a big rush to get heavily long or short. Decrease your size, day trade, and we'll see what's up here into earnings next couple of weeks. Adios.